Welcome back to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and I fell asleep early last night because I can do anything. So I didn't watch any NBA games last night, and then I had a really busy day. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, and just a really busy work day. So I didn't get to catch as many games as I wanted to. I watched the full Lakers game. I watched the fourth quarter and overtime in the Mavs Spurs game. I watched the first 3 quarters of the Warriors Bulls because that's really all I needed to watch. I just wanted to witness history. Klay Thompson had a pretty amazing performance last night after a really slow start. It was only really a matter of time until he caught fire. What other notable things happened in the NBA last night? Raptors and Bucks played, but Antetokounmpo didn't play and Kawhi Leonard didn't play. So those were the 2 undefeated teams left in the NBA, and the Bucks won 124-109. Take a look at the box score from that game. Without those 2 star players, it's really not much of it's a watchable game, but it's just not. It doesn't have nearly the intrigue, and the Bucks blew the Raptors out. Kyle Lowry only had 9 points on 21% shooting, 0 of 9 from 3. Holy crap. 15 assists, though. Danny Green, 8 points. Serge Ibaka had 30. That might be his career high. 57% from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 9 rebounds. Let's look at Milwaukee. Chris Middleton, 14. No, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in double figures, 3 of them off the bench. They spread the points around pretty well last night. 19 for Ilyasova, who is playing really well for the Bucks. Brogdon and Bledsoe both had 17, shot over 54 and 58% from the field. I'm going to talk about the Lakers. LeBron looked really frustrated early on just with his own play. He missed a couple easy shots to begin the game, some layups. They were contested. They weren't necessarily easy, I guess, but shots that LeBron is perfectly capable of making, and just got off to kind of a bad start. And then down the stretch, Jimmy Butler played really well. You know, the criticism of his, early season antics in practice and not showing up to practice, I think I don't know if they've worn off, but they're 3-4 now, and it doesn't really seem to be having too much of an effect on them. What did Jimmy Butler finish with? Played 36 minutes, 32 points, had 15 points in the fourth quarter, a couple really clutch shots down the stretch. Was 12 of 20 from the field goal or from the field, shot 60%. Oh, hello, cat. Can you hear my cat's purring away? She wants to get in the action. Sorry, you can't be a part of this podcast. Jimmy Butler was 6 of 7 from the 3-point line. Wow, 85% from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. So a really good game for him. Karl Anthony Towns played well, was playing with passion last night. He got in LeBron's face. Well, not necessarily in LeBron's face, but he was just very demonstrative. I don't know if demonstrative is even the right word, but played pretty well. 38% from the field, 3 of 6, 50% from 3, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, but 5 turnovers. Kuzma played well. JaVale McGee played well. Brandon Ingram played well in his first game back. 24 points, shot 50% from the field. 3 of 5, 60% from 3. Lonzo Ball played pretty horrible. 4 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, 1 assist, 1 turnover. I think that was by far Lonzo's worst game. He played 23 minutes and Rondo played 31 minutes. Lance came in and did his thing in 14 minutes, had 11 points, shot 40% from the field and 50% from 3, grabbed 4 rebounds. I think Lance, I have overall really liked the minutes management that Luke Walton has done so far. Although I think Lance should probably be playing more than 14 minutes. I think Javal has played really, really well, and last night was one of his better games, even though it wasn't his high game scoring wise. He played 30 minutes, had 13 points, shot 75% from the field. His field goal percentage is always going to be high if he's taking the shots that he should be taking. His two misses one was like a sweeping hook from maybe 13 feet, which is probably just a little bit outside of his range, especially for a hook shot. I don't remember what the other miss was, but only 5 rebounds. She should have way more rebounds than that. 3 blocks. He's really been a great rim protector for them. He blocked a couple layup attempts early that really deterred a lot of guys from even contesting layups with him around them throughout the rest of the game. So I think down the stretch, he's going to be a really, really important piece for them defensively to just keep people out of the paint. But I don't know, a lot of miscues. I don't even think it's necessarily in Cleveland with LeBron. It was a lot of guys that just lacked the talent to get it done. And I don't think this team lacks the talent to get it done. I think that it's just early and there's a lot of mental errors down the stretch. Kuzma played really well at the beginning of the game and then cooled way off. He was 8 of 18 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. He had 6 rebounds and 19 points. But I don't know. It's a little discouraging. You can see that, in LeBron's post-game press conference, you can tell he's frustrated. You can tell that maybe he didn't think that it was going to be this difficult. But these guys are really young, and it's really just going to take time. I just wonder if by the time that they figure it out, will it be too late? They've started 2-5. And some of 2 of those losses were really close games that they could have very easily won, that they just kind of pissed away down the stretch. But I don't know. I don't want to overreact. I think that I haven't been listening to any sports talk since I started this because I don't want to dilute I've mentioned this before, but I don't want to dilute my thoughts and ideas and storylines with the thoughts of other people and let other people's takes and opinions kind of seep into mine. So I don't really know what other people are talking about. My assumption is that everybody's probably overreacting, but I don't want to overreact. I mean, the Timberwolves were a playoff team in the West last year, and they lost by 4 points in a close game that they very, very easily could have won. LeBron had by LeBron standards, a pretty pedestrian night. 29 points, was 2 assists away from a triple-double with 10 rebounds. 5 turnovers is too much, but he's essentially their point guard. Lonzo is probably best suited as a point guard, and he really, even when he's in, he kind of, if he's in with LeBron, it's about half and half. Generally, LeBron will bring the ball down the floor unless it's unless it's transition or a busted play. I think the majority of the time LeBron is the point guard, and when Rondo's in, he is more of the point guard. But it's really interesting moving forward what the point guard situation is going to play out to be. I'm fascinated by this team as they lose games. It's interesting I just can't wait to see how it plays out, really. The best game of the night, though, by far, was the Spurs and the Mavericks. Luka Doncic had probably his first really, really good, really solid game. And that game overall was a really fun one to watch. It was close the entire time. It was the Texas rivalry, and that's a game, the Spurs and the Mavs, that hasn't really, over the last maybe 3 or 4 years since the Mavericks have been pretty terrible, hasn't really been all that great of a rivalry game. But that's a rivalry that when Dirk was really good and when the Mavs were in the playoff, in the finals hunt every year along with the Spurs, that was a really great rivalry. And last night was a really, really good overtime game. Doncic had 31 points in 39 minutes. Was 11 of 18 from the field, 61%, 4 of 6, 66% from three. So he's shooting the ball really well. Was 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He could probably go to the free throw line more, but he plays such a, he kind of play, it's that Euro style. He's just kind of plays like very dainty almost. Just a lot of floaters and really just kind of gets to his spots and finds room and it's kind of the opposite of James Harden. He doesn't like create or initiate the contact. He kind of creates space and shies away from the contact, but doesn't necessarily take a lot of fadeaways or anything like that. He just kind of finds a way to fit into spots. 8 rebounds for Doncic, 4 assists and 6 turnovers. That's probably the only blemish, is the 6 turnovers to the 4 assists, which isn't great, but he was +7 on the night. Dennis Smith Jr. had 22 points, played 37 minutes, was shot 50% from the field, but 1 of 6 from three. That's where he could really expand his game. If he could shoot the ball better, 16.7% from three is not good. If he could shoot the ball, if he could make 2 of 6, 2 of 6 would be a hell of a lot better than 1 of 6. I know that's only 3 extra points, but in the long run, that he just needs to, he could really, really be a dynamic point guard in this league if he could shoot the ball better. That kind of goes for a lot of point guards. That, the one that jumps off the top of my head is Russell Westbrook. I think he's obviously dynamic, but if he could shoot the 3 ball 5 to 10% better than what he does, he'd have probably won a championship already by now. DeAndre Jordan was DeAndre Jordan for the most part. 19 rebounds, shot a really high field goal percentage, probably all of them within 4 feet, or all of them probably dunks. Played 41 minutes last night and really detours people from playing around the rim. He only had 1 block, but he just changes a lot of the shots that people do take. On the other side of the ball, the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan played great down the stretch. It's amazing how the Spurs, they essentially played without, I can't remember if Kawhi played any games last year at all or if he sat the entire year out, but last year let's say he does sit the entire year out. They're still they're still in the playoffs. I don't remember what seed they were in the playoffs, but I want to say they were in the top half of the Western Conference playoffs, even without their best player. And then this year, DeMar DeRozan steps in, and he may be playing better. He may fit in better in this offense than Kawhi did. I know that Kawhi shoots the 3 better than DeRozan and is probably a better overall player, but DeRozan looks great in this offense. He played 42 minutes. He led the team in minutes last night in overtime, but had 34 points, 12 of 21, 57% from the field. Only took 1 3 and missed it, but was 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, only 2 turnovers. His plus minus was actually -7, which is sort of surprising. 3 of their 5 starters were negative plus minus. Bryn Forbes was +15. He played 29 minutes, was 12 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 45.5% from the field, and 2 of 5 from three. His numbers don't really reflect his importance to that team. Patty Mills came off the bench and played 34 minutes. So Patty Mills is really their primary ball-handling point guard. Bryn Forbes plays a lot more off the ball, running off screens and shooting threes. But, from that, I don't know how long he was at Michigan State. I think it was just 2 years. He transferred. He played 2 years at, I believe, a community college or 2 years at a lower Division I school, and then transferred to Michigan State and played 2 years at Michigan State. Of those 2 years that he were there, out of all those guys on those teams, I would have never guessed that Bryn Forbes would be he is really contributing to a championship level team in fucking 2018, and I would have never guessed that all those guys on those Spartan teams he would be the one making such a solid contribution, and that just goes to show, you know, even if you go, you know, a lot of times if you do go later in the draft, you get drafted to better teams, and this is a perfect fit for him. Really, Popovich, I guess anybody couldn't fit into Popovich's system, but if you're just a solid human being that has a good head on your shoulders, those are the kind of guys that Popovich drafts. And I think that's Bryn Forbes, and he's really fitting in really well. So I'm happy to see a Spartan making a really big contribution. Not a really big. He's obviously not DeMar DeRozan or LaMarcus Aldridge, who had a really good night last night. Maybe wasn't totally himself. He only shot 35% from the field, had 20 points, 6 rebounds. But DeMar DeRozan was great down the stretch, and especially in overtime. I think he scored the last 3 baskets for them down the stretch. But 34 points, 9 assists, 3 steals. That mid-range jumper of his is really good, especially off like multiple pump fakes. Somehow he makes some really, really difficult shots. I've talked about that before in past episodes. He probably right now that J.R. Smith is pretty horrible, I think he is probably the best difficult shot maker in the NBA. Maybe Kevin Durant is up there. I think Steph's shots are really difficult just because of how far away they are sometimes from the basket, but I don't think he takes a lot of like off balance contested shots. Klay makes a lot of really contested shots, and I'm trying to think of some other people who take really difficult shots. Jason Tatum takes some really tough shots and makes some really tough shots, but right now I think DeMar DeRozan is probably the best tough shot maker in the league. Since I talked about Klay, I guess I should move on to the Warriors and the Bulls. It really wasn't much of a game. The Warriors were up by double figures pretty much the entire game. They led by almost 30 at the end of the first quarter, and then had, I think it was 92-50 at halftime, which is just crazy. But, what is there to say necessarily? I mean, the Warriors, now that they've got they're already great. They're already 6-1 going into this game, and Klay Thompson was shooting the ball horrible to start the season. Going into the game last night, he had 5 made threes, and then he hit 4 in the first 10 minutes. He had 52 points in 26 minutes. That is crazy. 52 points in 26 minutes. Shot 18 of 29 from the field, 62%. 14 of 24 from 3, 58.3%. And those 14 makes past Steph's single game record for threes made in a game. That's definitely not the right way to say that, but you get what I mean. And it was really cool to see Steph Curry passing him the ball down the stretch. A lot of those guys knew that they were coming out towards the end of the third quarter, so they were just trying to get Klay the record, and Steph was kind of the catalyst. He was really feeding Klay, trying to get him to pass the record, because he was at 13 at Steph's record and missed 3 or 4 threes in a row, and then he finally made one right towards the end of the third quarter, and none of those guys played in the fourth quarter. I mean, Kevin Durant played 28 minutes, Draymond 25, Damian Jones 13, Klay Thompson 26, and Steph Curry 24. So none of those guys their starters played over 30 minutes. And then Alfonso McKinney has been really, really great for them. A guy that I believe was undrafted or maybe a really late draft pick, played 26 minutes and had 19 points, shot 46% from the field and 4 of 6 from 3. He is a really good three-point shooter. A lot of his makes go straight through the rim or straight through the net without even really touching the net at all. And he's been really great. A lot of their play-by-play and color guys talk about, how you, especially on a team like the Warriors, you don't want to come in and take too many shots, but you don't want to pass up open shots, because you don't want other teams to be able to leave you wide open to go, help extra on all their superstars that are amazing shooters. And he has done a really good job of a lot of guys will come into the league, and especially on a team like the Warriors, you don't want to take too many shots, so you just kind of wait for open shots to come. You don't want to force anything, and he's done a really good job of kind of playing in between and just kind of letting the game come to him and taking shots when they're there and creating for other people when they're there. And he's a Chicago native who went to a small college in Chicago and got to play at home last night, and just bought his mom a house in Chicago that day before the game, which was kind of stuck out to me since I'm about to close on my house tomorrow, which is really exciting. That's part of the reason I didn't get to watch as many games today, because I've been working on making sure I've got everything ready for closing tomorrow, and I'm just excited to freaking move. It feels like it's been forever since I made the offer, and I'm just ready to get into my new house. I've done a lot of packing already, and I'm really at a point where I can't pack anything else because I still need to use stuff, and so I'm kind of right in that in-between period. I don't know how I started. Alfonso McKinney bought his mom a house. So the Warriors continue to be really, really great, and now that Klay is Klay again, it's going to be really scary they're just going to continue to play really well. Every single one of their guys that were active on the roster last night played, and Andre Iguodala only played 7 minutes and didn't do a damn thing. He had 4 assists, 1 rebound, didn't take any shots, and was plus 16 and I wonder if any of their guys were negative and plus minus. The only guy that was negative was Quinn Cook. Well, 3 guys. Quinn Cook, negative 19, Jacob Evans, negative 16, and Kevon Looney, negative 6. Oh, and Jordan Bell was negative 15. So those 3 guys that were negative in the teens were all probably in at the end of the game when the Bulls cut the deficit from, the final score was 149 to 124, when they cut the deficit from 40 to, I'm so bad at math, to like in the 30s, but the Warriors still blew them out. The Pelicans and the Nuggets played last night. Anthony Davis missed his second straight game, and the Pelicans still gave the Nuggets a pretty good run for their money. The final score was 116 to 111 Nuggets. Nikola Mirotic continues to play really, really well. He seems like he's really found a home in New Orleans. He had 17 points in 37 minutes, shot 41% from the field, 3 of 11 from 3, not very good, but 10 rebounds. And I mean, without Anthony Davis to lose by 5 to right now one of the top teams in the West is pretty impressive. Julius Randle had his best game of the year, 24 points in 26 minutes, 8 of 13 from the field, 61%. Didn't take any threes, 8 rebounds and 6 assists. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures last night. Drew Holiday had a pretty average game, 16 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 2 of 3, 66% from 3, 9 assists, 5 turnovers. That's a little bit too many turnovers. They had 1, 2, 3 guys with 5 turnovers last night. But the Nuggets got a near triple-double out of Jokic, 12 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, which is a pretty... I don't want to say mediocre, but for 12 points is kind of low, and 10 assists. He's a great passing big man. He may go down if he can continue to play like this. I know he's really, really young still, but if he can continue to pass the ball like this for a big, he's going to go down as one of the better passing bigs in the league. I mean, I know there's been a lot of really good passing bigs. Wes Unseld comes to mind. Kevin Love, I guess, is a big guy. Andrew Bogut was a really good passer. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on good passing big men, but he has a really good chance to go down as a really great passing big. Gary Harris had 23 points. Jamal Murray also had 23 points. I didn't get to watch any of this game, but Portland and the Pacers also played last night. The Trailblazers won that game by 10. I haven't talked about any Pacers games because living in Indiana, those games are regionally blocked out by NBA League Pass. So I can't watch any, and I don't have cable. So I can't watch any of those games in real time, and I can't watch the replays until 3 days after. So, by 3 days, there's already, 3 days of a shit ton more NBA basketball on. So I'm not going to go back and watch a Pacers game unless maybe I'm going to be pissed off when they play the Lakers. Unless maybe it's a Lakers game. That would probably be the only reason I would go back and watch one of their games 3 days later. But I guess I should probably talk about them. Victor Oladipo was their leading scorer with 21 points. All of their starters were in double figures last night, but they must have got a pretty good effort from Damian Lillard. Oh no, 16 points, 38% shooting from the field, 2 of 7, 28% from 3. Damian had a very average night. So did McCollum. They only had 3 starters in double figures and then 4 guys off the bench. Caleb Swanigan got 18 minutes last night. He was really, really great at Purdue and a guy that I really wanted, that was committed to Michigan State and would have really put those teams. That was one of Bryn Forbes' teams that was beat by Swanigan and what's his name, Haas. And I thought he was going to be a really great NBA player. He hasn't really got very many minutes at all in Portland, but played 18 minutes last night. Scored 11 points, was 4 of 6 from the field, grabbed 10 rebounds. So that's a really positive thing for Portland. I think that if they can, to me, he's one of their best big men. I'm not really high on Nurkic. I know that he's kind of like a utility guy that just does a lot of, things that aren't on the stat sheet for them. Al-Farouq Aminu is a 4, but he can shoot the ball much better. I don't know if Caleb Swanigan can shoot threes at all, but I think that's probably where Al-Farouq Aminu starts over him just because of his three-point ability. But Caleb Swanigan, I think, especially with a performance like he had last night, playing 18 minutes, I think could see a lot more floor time as the season continues. They had a lot of guys play a lot of minutes, though. They had 3 guys play over 20 minutes, and then 2, Seth Curry and Swanigan, played 17 and 18 minutes. So they're getting a lot of contribution off the bench. The other games last night were the Sixers and the Hawks, the Kings and the Heat, the Nets and the Knicks. Let's see what our boy Markelle Fultz did last night for the 76ers. Come on, internet. Go a little bit faster. Come on. Holy shit. Mediacom. Your internet's pretty horrible. And I don't know if it's because I have a cheap-ass Wi-Fi modem, but this is a little ridiculous. Normally, when I do these and I have to sit and wait for the internet, I just edit out the dead space, the dead air that I sit here and wait for it. But I'm just going to ramble until this thing loads. My goodness, this is as slow as it's ever been. Come on, go. Do it. I'm going to refresh. My goodness. Okay, the refresh helped. So the Sixers beat the Hawks 113-92. Our boy Trae Young, I don't know why I said our boy. He's not our boy really at all. Had 11 points, 38% from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, 8 assists, no turnovers. It's a pretty, just a halfway decent, I guess it's a good night for a rookie. But they didn't get much from the rest of their team. Markelle Fultz played 25 minutes, had 16 points, 7 of 16 from the field, 43% is pretty good. He made a 3, 1 of 5 from 3. I think that's a positive thing for the Sixers. I think that they need him, especially early, to just take those, to take the open threes, because he's got to just get that shit out of his system and just let it fly. And even if, it's hard to develop confidence if you're missing a bunch of threes, but He needs to just let that shit fly. 7 assists for Fultz, 4 rebounds. He was -2 plus minus, but I think that's a really positive game for Fultz, especially in a win. Oh, I mean, it's the Hawks, and they're pretty horrible, but Embiid only had 10 points, so Fultz was their second leading scorer. Ben Simmons had 21, shot 72% from the field, but again, all his shots are really close to the rim. Didn't take a three. I don't think he has taken a three. My assumption is that he probably hasn't, because I think I'd probably know about it if he were to have taken a three. 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. So he was an assist away from a triple-double. They got a good contribution out of Ben Simmons, but for Fultz to play as well as he did last night, and for Embiid to have played as bad as he did last night, it was 3 of 9 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 6 assists, 4 turnovers, and 6 rebounds. A very mediocre night for Joel Embiid. So they're lucky to have come away with a win against the Hawks last night. But I think that's about all I got. Not a really exciting... It was an exciting night in the NBA. There was a milestone from Klay Thompson, and that in itself is fun enough to watch. There was an overtime game. What I'm not all that excited about is tomorrow's games. Tonight's games, I guess. Tomorrow's podcast. The Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets, not all that intriguing. Hawks Cavs is not all that intriguing. I should talk about the Cavs thing. I just found out today that not only did the Cavs fire their coach, Tyronn Lue, but they're also going to have to pay him, even though they fired him. I guess I didn't really realize that when you fired a guy. I think I did I did know it. I guess it just didn't really, in this situation, jump out at me. But they're going to have to pay Ty Lue, and they just fired him, and they don't have an idea for a replacement. It's just what a fucking stupid move by the front office. Dan Gilbert is probably one of the worst sports owners in sports history. What do you like? You got to give the guy a chance to prove that he can coach without LeBron James. It's just mind-boggling to me. But those 2 games, and then the Kings Magic, are really not intriguing games at all. Pistons Celtics, I guess, is a good one, although you're going to watch Blake Griffin shoot the ball 30 times probably. 76ers Raptors is good. Kawhi Leonard is going to play. That's probably the game of the night, and that's on NBA TV's Players Only night on Tuesday, so that'll be a good game. Blazers Rockets will probably be, well, I don't think Harden's going to play, but I don't really like watching the Rockets anyways. I've mentioned that before. The Rockets are 1-4. They've only played 5 games. The Rockets are 1-4. Trailblazers will probably blow them out. Wizards, Grizzlies, and Clippers, Thunder. So I'm not overly intrigued about the games that are tonight, but so expect me to talk heavily about the Sixers and the Raptors. I'm actually very excited for that game. That sounds like a fun game. So for myself and cat number 2 that joined earlier on the podcast, have a great night, and just remember that you can do anything.